Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just met with a classmate of yours, Melissa. I don't know if she's in your class, but just met with her. So you're next. You're up next. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice morning so far.
Good. Good. All right. So how can I help?
Well, if you're comfortable, I would like to ask you a couple of questions if you have a moment.
No, I have no time.
Okay.
No, we have let's see, 8:20 for you. Kate canceled at 8:40, so I actually have 40 minutes for you. Up to 40 minutes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so if you would just like to get started, my first question for you would be, how did you first discover that you wanted to become a project manager? And did you start off as a project manager or did you work your way up? And if so, what were those steps?
That's three questions. That's three questions in one. I got you though. Yeah. All right. When did I decide? Well, I never wanted to be a project manager. Project management found me. I was a teacher. I began as a teacher, actually. I'm a credential teacher. So I taught high school English. I taught English and like debate, and that's what I was doing. I then was a teacher on special assignment, and I ran the Special Olympics program for Berkeley, California, Nevada. And that was my introduction to project management. I didn't know I was a project manager. I thought I was a program coordinator. And about 4 or 5 years, I realized, I'm beginning the project management back then when I was managing the program, and I had a series of projects at all these different schools. And then how did I become one? Well, as I mentioned, I kind of fell into the role. I was managing the program. And when I got laid off as a teacher, I actually applied for a role as a project manager. Well, I take it back. I applied for a role to do 511, if you've heard of that, 511.org. They do like Spare the Air or Ride Your Bike to school, Ride Your Bike to work. They do those programs.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so when I was being hired on for that role, I was going to report to a project supervisor. So I was doing what anybody would do. I was trying to Google as many stuff as I could to find out. And I was like, oh, project supervisor, what is this? And then that led me to PMI, the Project Management Institute. And I was like, oh, I've been doing project management. And so I started to look up the term project management and started to see roles. I applied for a role with a technology company, and then I got hired there, oddly enough. I had nothing in my background that said technology, but I kind of knew it. So, And then I think you said, what are the steps that I took? Yeah, so I really didn't end up taking any steps, but I did eventually apply to get my PMP, or my project management professional credential, and then from there, I started to learn all the knowledge areas of project management. I've been doing full-time project management work since then.
That's great. I just realized I forgot to introduce myself. My apologies. My name's Charis Armstrong. I'm a business major. My major option is in information systems. So
okay.
I hope to either go into computer programming or just work in IT.
All right. Well, we share backgrounds. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and my minors were in Organizational Communication and Public Relations, and also in Management Information.
Great.
So we share a background there. I will tell you, project management is a growing field, and it's always going to be there. So if you're really interested in programming and in coding, definitely go do that. You'll make a lot of money, number one. You'll get hired on by some really good companies because, the truth is that there's just not a lot of diversity in tech. And it's not always the tech company's fault. It's just that a lot of Black folks like ourselves, we don't go out and go get computer science degrees. And nobody tells us that's the sexy thing to do. And I'm starting to see that things are changing. I'm very happy to see in the last 4 to 5 years, seeing more youth. But then, especially as a woman, there's GTGC, Girls Teaching Girls to Code. There's DGC, Black Girls Code.
I follow them.
One more. You follow them, sweet. And so doing that, you'll get a role, become an engineer, become a developer, get that skill set, and you can always go to project management later on in your career. But it's much harder to go from a project manager to a developer. It's very easy to go from a developer or an engineer to a project manager. So yeah, I would tell you to go that route, and and go get hired by one of the sexy names, the Apples, the Googles, the Facebook, the eBays of the world. Get those names on your resume, and then from there, you better do whatever you want.
Thank you for that advice. I've been struggling right now because I'm trying to find an internship, and I was thinking of starting in Fresno with the company Bitwise because they're a coding company. And so I was going to start there and try and work my way out of town. So I'm still trying to decide where to go with that.
Yeah, I would do that. I would definitely do that internship. I would join groups. I would put it out there. I would make videos that says, "Hey, I'm Charis. Did I say your name right, Charis?"
Charis.
Charis. Charis or Charis?
Charis. It's like Paris, but with the C.
Okay. So Harris, I would say I'm Harris, and I would use that. That's the conversation piece with your name. I said I'm Harris. Don't call me Charis. Don't call me Charis. Call me Harris. I said with a smile, and I say, I'm learning the code. I'm in there. Right. Show your personality, and then put those videos up. Put them up on your LinkedIn page. Put them up. Create a personal website. Go get a free Wix website. Or $12 a year for a domain, and have yourname.com, and then have a personal website that all of the work that you do with these companies and these internships, you put it up on your site, and that becomes a second extension of your digital resume, right? You'll have one on LinkedIn, but then everybody's got a LinkedIn profile. But how many people go out and create a website with their name and also put it on there? And that just shows that, you're taking more initiative, you're a little more creative. It just sets you apart just a little bit more.
Exactly, because one of the things that I have wanted to do, speaking of the website, is I was going to develop one because I was going to develop one for him and then one for myself because he's a photographer. And so for myself, I wanted to create one because like you said, I wanted to stand out, but I also wanted to practice so that way I could get my skills more toned.
And you should say that too. You should create a video and say that. Say, hey, this is what I'm like every week or every month or every quarter, whatever cadence you think is right. Put a video out there that says, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm working on. Kind of, make a chronological profile of your life and what you've got going on. So you can say, hey, I'm making my first website. I'm going to start on Weebly or Wix or Squarespace. And you say, now that I've created this first website, I'm now going to make a WordPress site. Who knows? And I'm going to learn those skills. And then you go create one. Okay, now that I've learned CSS and PHP and HTML, I'm going to make a Joomla site or, whatever it may be. But put it out there because now it puts the pressure on you to go and deliver, right? And then you go and you deliver it. And then now, me as an employer, I'm going to, as I'm looking at your resume, and your resume is going to have these links, and probably your resume is going to be delivered to me in digital format. And I've seen hundreds of resumes, and I'm scanning. But then you have some links, and I'm like, what's this about? And I'm going to click your link. Then I'm going to see your face with your video. Oh, this is what I did, and this is what I'm working on. And I'm going to see your videos are, and I struggled with this, but this is what I learned. And then I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to hire this person because she's already shown me how she bounces back in difficult situations. She's shown me her creativity. Now that I've heard her voice, I've seen her smile. I already feel comfortable with her because a lot of getting a job is about people liking you, wanting to work with you, right? If they're going to interview you, they already think you can do the job on paper. So now it's just about, well, we like her, but we like working with her. And then, you get to show your personality so that people have the opportunity to say, oh, yeah, I think I like this person. Let's bring her in. And, you just keep setting yourself apart. So you are going to make a website? No. You are going to make a website. All right? All right? You're going to make a website. Because what else are you going to do? you're looking to do an internship, you're going to school. Even if you have a part-time job, you can party with your friends. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. You absolutely should have fun, and you need to do that. Don't be one of those people that's just work, because you got to work hard and you got to play. But what you really need to do is you need to map out your time and say, I have so many hours in a week. All right. If you think about it, you have 3 sets of 56 hours. All right. There's 7 days a week.
Yeah.
There's 24 hours a day. And you divide that 24.
Oh. I think you're muted. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I lost connection. So you have these 3 8-hour sections, right? And 8 hours times 7 days is 56. So 56 of those hours you're sleeping, because you sleep 8 hours a day. That means you got 56 hours that you can devote to work or school, right? And that's assuming you're working 7 days a week, which means you have 56 hours of free time to yourself a week. And then you just have to decide, of those 56 hours, I'm going to devote so many of those hours to my family. I'm going to devote so many of those hours to my personal development. And that personal development could be also going to the gym and working out, staying healthy. It could be reading books, learning the code, and I'm going to spend 56 of those hours, in my personal time. And then that personal time is a time where it is absolutely important for you to then hang out with your friends and, also to be with your family, to be with your loved ones. So the best advice that I could give you, just map your time out. Map your time out and have like a timeline, or like it doesn't have to be so scheduled, like today at this hour I'm doing this, this, and that. But it's like, I'm going to make sure I devote so many hours a week to these activities. And then at the end of the week, just do a check. Did I do it this week? Did I give my 6 hours here? Did I give my 4 hours there? And if you do that and you constantly do that, you're going to be way further ahead than a lot of people.
I really needed that. So thank you. Because I've always been, right now I'm dealing with the issue of just work and school. So I'm trying to weave in that social life or become more social, since I'm actually, ever since the pandemic, I've decided I'm going to be more social. Because before the pandemic, I was like, I'm okay with my little circle of just my family and then my 2 friends. But now I'm trying to start networking more and starting to get to know people. So I really needed that. So thank you.
You're welcome. And here's another piece of advice. Throw that word networking out the window, or at least the meaning of it. A lot of people think networking, I got to go out and I got to meet people and I got to connect with them on LinkedIn or get their business card. Just meet somebody and be genuinely interested in who they are and what they do. And the best thing is, how can you serve that person? Because a relationship's a 2-way street. And after you serve enough, if they're not serving you, you'll cut that relationship off, right? And you'll move on to the next, because people have to serve you as well. So, just think about the ability to connect with people and to be generally interested in who they are, what they're about, and how you can help them further themselves. And from that, you won't know what it is, but you'll get a whole lot of value in your life. So, and part of that is like, it's hard, because of the pandemic, right? We are we're kind of limited to our small circles, but it could be joining other groups. It could be when I say joining other groups, I mean like whether they're Facebook or LinkedIn groups, or but other groups in terms of like other countries, or things that are even not about coding, maybe things that are about stuff that you're not maybe that familiar with. Could be sports, it could be construction, it could, you know what I mean? But go out and find something that's like, that's something you would never do, and go join that community and go learn about it, and be genuinely interested in it. Find something that you'd be genuinely interested in and go learn about it, and see what that world is like.
Okay. So that leads me into my next question. Well, kind of yes and kind of no. I noticed on your website that it said that you lived in multiple areas. So my question for you would be, how has that impacted your relationships or your connections that you built over the years during projects, or how has that impacted your look on working on these projects as a manager?
Well, I will say that hold on, let me to shut off and let me validate. You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, there we go. So I will say that the biggest thing that that living in different places and working on different things. Good morning, guys. The biggest thing that it sort of helped me out with is all right. I'm gonna throw this back to you. If you mentioned earlier that like you were kind of in your own little bubble, and you know you wanted to get outside your bubble, that's what it helped me with. It helped me to see that especially outside the US, that things are very there's a lot to people, there's a lot to the world there, and there's just, what am I really trying to say here? It really helped me to understand the perspective of the world and how people work and how they are different in different locales, and you know, and how to just kind of be genuine and be nice, right? You know, outside of the US, you go to these countries where people have nothing. They have very, very little, but they're happy. And you come here to US where people have everything and they're unhappy. And so that really gives you a big perspective. And I guess the other piece would be you also get to see how people think about relationships and about professionalism when you are in different parts of, whether it's just the US or the world. And so that has impacted me in a way where I'm a little more thoughtful of my team. I'm a little more thoughtful of, you know, how can I make them the best version of themselves? And if I help them to make the best version of themselves, then that in turn will make the project successful. And it's less about you're not doing your task and you're not doing your work, but it's more about, you know, how can I help you do your job better? You know, whatever that looks like. And so that's probably the biggest impact that it had for me.
Great. You mentioned earlier, sorry, there's like an echo, so it's like.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, because I'm in my office now. So let me do this. Go on the stand here. Let me take this out. Let's plug this in back here. How's that?
Good.
Okay.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you taught before you became a project manager. So my question would be, how did you get into teaching, or how did you decide you wanted to teach? And then how did you later decide you wanted to teach others about project management and how to become a project manager?
So I'm a former baseball player. I played baseball in college and little minor league baseball. And when I wasn't competing, I would substitute teach. And as I was substitute teaching, then naturally it was like, well, okay, you're not going to be a pro baseball player, CJ. What are you going to do? And it was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll teach at the high school. I'll apply for this role. Every district in the state of California can give 2 teachers the opportunity to become what they call district interns, where you get a preliminary credential. So like to get a teacher's credential, you need a bachelor's degree and then another 45 units after that. This program allows you to, as long as you have a bachelor's degree, to start teaching and then get your credential simultaneously. So I got hired on as a district intern. I was teaching, and by the time I actually got my credential, that's where I became the program manager for Special Olympics. And so now I wasn't in the classroom anymore. I was going to different classrooms. I was setting up training programs for those students. So I was teaching teachers how to teach, but how to teach athletics and sports to kids with special needs. So it's interesting because the path, I didn't lay out that path. It just kind of happened. I didn't know I was a project manager at the time. I just looked at it as like, I'm teaching teachers how to teach. Then when I became a project manager afterwards, let's say I started teaching in 2015. So project management in 2015. So it was only natural to say, okay, well, I've taught teachers how to teach. I teach project managers how to manage projects. And so it was just kind of like, it just kind of naturally happened.
I didn't choose the path. It kind of chose me, so to speak.
Okay. I feel like that's always nice when it chooses you, because like it feels like you just fall into it and then you start to realize, oh, this actually works for me.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's how it came to be. I was always this person who liked to I call it sharing knowledge. When I was younger, I had a very different outlook on life. You could say I was one of those know-it-all people. I was always trying to show people how much I know and this and that, right? And as you start to get older, you realize, oh, people don't like that. Shut up, CJ. Nobody asks your opinion. Unless they ask you, you just hold it in. And so because that was a natural thing, like teaching is a natural gift of mine. That's like the gift that I've been given, is to teach. I happen to just be really good at project management. And so then teaching it becomes easy because it's something I'm good at, combined with my gift of teaching. So I was able to marry the two. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
Okay. And then, okay, your bio also stated that you pride yourself in having confidence. So my question would be, were you always confident, or did you have to learn how to perceive confidence along the way?
I would say I definitely grew up with a sense of at least trying to be confident. I have two older brothers that both played sports at a high level, and they were both really good at just different things, being artistic. And I didn't consider myself very artistic when I was young. So I took a lot of chances. I was very much a risk taker when I was younger. So that always helps. If you're a big risk, right? If you're risk averse, you're more or less to like get up in front of people and speak. If you're more risk seeking, you will. So I actually did Rotary Club when I was in high school. I was senior class president. So some of those things started in me at a young age. But I will also say this, a lot of it is through sports, because sports is like the great meritocracy. It doesn't matter your race, your religion, your gender, your sexual orientation, none of that. Like if you're good, you're good, right? And so for the most part, you learn that you're going to be put in scenarios where you may fail. And as long as you give it your best, that's what counts. And so if you know that you put in the work, that you've prepared, you're going to go out there and give it the best of your abilities, win or lose. It's kind of funny because the loss is really what you're seeking. Even though we don't think of it that way, we all want to win. The loss tells you about yourself. It tells you, whether or not you have this thing inside of you to continue going. So as I transitioned from baseball to boxing, that became the biggest thing, because now it's not just performing in front of 50,000 people in the big stadium. It's while there's less people here, I might get knocked out, and I might wake up. Right? So it's like you learn to harness the fear, and you learn that I fall in love with the process and not the result. The result will come, and that's there. And so that's just the long-winded version of me saying that the confidence comes from the preparation. So the best advice I can give you is, if you prepare yourself in life, you'll always be confident that no matter what life throws at you, you're going to be good. You're going to be good because you've done the work. And the work could be, you called it networking earlier, developing your contact to people, working on yourself and having personal development, having professional development. So that way, anything that's thrown my way, I've built myself up to this place where I can handle the adversity that's there to come. That's what really confidence is. I know that's a lot in what I said, but that's what it is. It's in the preparation. That's where you really understand confidence. Now at this age, that's where I get confidence from.
Okay, I understand that. I've had to do it. I get it, like when it comes to presentations, like for example, if you're studying your notes and things such as that, you're prepared and you have that confidence when you're presenting because you know what you're talking about.
It's exactly that. When you don't, you're going to get up there, you're nervous. Oh, am I going to look like a fool? Am I going to do like this and do like that? But if you've prepared, you have no reason to be. And so now you move from this space of lack of confidence to more so, handling the nerves. Because now it's not fear, it's nervous. And nervous energy is good. But then we learn how to harness it and how to, keep it into its right container and use it in the right way and not let it take over us. So good. You had at a younger age, you've already figured that out. I didn't get that until maybe 10 years ago in my life, right? I already had gray hairs by the time I figured that out. So.
Well, if it helps, a lot of people say I have an old soul. So.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Yeah. And you want to keep that. Hey, that's another thing you should say. You need to say that in this video. In this video that Harris is going to create is, hey, I'm Harris. I'm not Charis. I'm not Charis. The C is silent. And by the way, people say I'm a young woman with an old soul.
Oh, the H is silent. So it's Charis.
Oh, Charis. Okay. See, yes. I wasn't even hearing. I was in my car. I couldn't hear. Okay. See, Charis. See, okay. See, say that. So listen, I was talking to this guy and he kept calling me Charis. Then he was calling me Harris. But the H is silent. By the way, my name is Charis. Like, just make something that's like that because people will laugh. They'll smile when they see it. And immediately, once we smile, you at least got me for the next 30 seconds, right? No matter what you say that comes out your mouth, you say something good that captures me for the next 30 seconds, right? Because we have about a 90-second attention span. But have that opening, make me smile, make me laugh. Now you got me.
Great. Okay. Thank you for that advice. You mentioned sports a lot. So as a project manager, you have to work with teams. So has being a part of sports influenced how you manage your teams a lot? Absolutely.
I mean, all right. I think playing in multiple sports puts me at a huge advantage over other people, because the thing about sports is you get to see how you are compared to somebody else. And whether, okay, I'm better than that person, but they're working their butt off and they're going to catch up to me. Right. And so now you get to really be honest with yourself and say, I'm not working that hard. Right. Or you can see, man, I've put everything into what I'm trying to do and I'm still not as good as that other person. And now you get to be honest with yourself about your talent level. And now that I was able to do that as a kid and understand like where I fit in this and that, now you get to see what's the difference between being really good and being a leader, right? Can I lead people? Can I galvanize a group together? Can I get them to follow? And now as a project manager, and as an adult, I get to see those people. It's like, okay, you don't understand what it means to really work with others. Let's dive into this. Let me ask you certain questions. Let me probe a little bit to see what's in your background, where you're coming from, and what can I find that relates to you that I can attach to help bring you along the way. But absolutely playing sports and team sports, right? Because like boxing doesn't teach you anything about, being on a team, right? But playing baseball, playing basketball, playing football, all of those things definitely gives me an advantage for sure.
Cool. Okay. So is there any advice that somebody has given you that you've kept all these years throughout your career?
Yeah, there's a lot. The first one that comes to mind is when I first was getting into project management. I used to coach a baseball team, a pony baseball team. And one of the fathers, I called him up and I wanted some advice. I wanted him to be my mentor. He's still my mentor to this day, Mr. James, Sean James. And I called him up and I wanted to know about project management, kind of like what you're doing now. And he said, listen, I'm a sales guy, but my best friend, Chris Mears, talked to this guy. So Chris Mears, this a piece of advice I still use to this day. He said, CJ, find out the chickens and the pigs. So let me give you the same question that he told me. Let me ask you, on your projects, even on your teams, and you have teams, right? There's chickens and there's pigs. At breakfast time, who's most committed?
The chicken.
Why?
I'm actually not sure.
Good. Yeah, think bacon and eggs. Think bacon and eggs. Bacon and eggs. Who's more committed? The pig or the chicken?
I would think it. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart right now.
Yeah, that's okay. I didn't know the answer either. I was like, well, it's the chicken. The chicken's got to lay an egg and give something up. And he said, no, CJ. He said, the pig has skin in the game. The pig has to give a little bit of its flesh for your bacon. The chicken can lay eggs and eggs and eggs, and it's going to be all right. But as soon enough, if the pig keeps giving you bacon and bacon and bacon and bacon, there's going to be no more skin of that pig left, right? So the pin has skin in the game.
The reason I didn't get it is because I'm kosher, so I don't think that way.
Oh man, see, that's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, that's not that. That probably wasn't the best example for koshers and vegans and vegetarians, but you get it though, right? That the pig has skin in the game. So you got to find out who are the pigs, and then you need to go and take care of those people, because those are the people that really care. They have skin in the game. The chickens, they lay an egg and let that egg go, and not worried about the egg, right? So that's one piece of advice I've kept. Another piece of advice that I've learned, this is recently, probably in the past, 5 to 10 years. 2013, so about 8 years ago. And it's servant leadership is the best style. And so there's a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. You should read that account read that book if you can. Hold on one sec. I just saw the email. And in it, he talks about the difference between leaders and managers. And he says, here's a verification code. I'm sorry, my teammate is trying to log in to do some development work and it didn't work. So there goes the okay. So he says the difference between leaders and managers. He describes, he said, imagine that there's this group of people out in the Amazon forest, and they're clearing out a section of the Amazon to build a 10-lane freeway. And at first my heart was broken. I was like, oh my gosh, we're chopping on all these trees. Like, I don't even like the thought of that. But he was like, so in the book, he's like, imagine that. He's like, the manager is the person that's telling everybody, sharpen your blades, swipe at a 40-degree angle, one way in, one way out. Take your break now, take your lunch now. He says the leader is the person that's at the top of the trees with the binocular and saying, hey, we need to head south. If we keep going west, we're going to end up in the river. I've always taken that a step further, and I said the best leaders hop down from the tree and say, team, we need to chop this way. They pick up a machete and they start chopping themselves, and then everybody follows them. And the worst leaders are the ones that say, you guys need to go this way. And they stand behind with the whip and they want to crack the whip, right? So I decided that I'm always going to be the leader who's going to do the dirty work with the team and have them follow me. And I'm not going to look back. I'm going to assume that if I prepared and I did everything right, they're just going to follow, right? And I'm never going to be the person that's going to stand behind and try to drive people to do something that they don't want to do. So those are the 2 best pieces of advice I can give you. Know your chickens and your pigs, and then be the leader that paves the way, and not the leader that drives the road.
Thank you for that, because I met with another mentor yesterday, and she gave me similar advice to what you said. Her advice kind of basically stated that always be yourself when it comes to being a leader. And I kind of associate that with the advice that you just recently gave, because currently I'm a store lead at Walgreens.
Nice.
And so I've been dealing with being myself or trying to be stricter at times when it comes to my team. So it's kind of finding like the balance between my morals, because I've always wanted people, like, I'm fine giving them the ropes to get there themselves, but I've never wanted to be so strict and so hard on them to the point where it feels like I'm just like a helicopter mom, if that makes sense.
It does.
So I've just been trying to find that balance, and I feel like the advice that I've been given over the past these meeting with her and then meeting with you now, it seems like I'm on the right track. I just need to find where I'm comfortable with.
Well, let me give you a little bit more. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I forget who said that. It was a young lady in the TED Talk that I saw a few years ago. And she was talking about running and how running long distance taught her about life and about business. And she said in
I've
running,
seen that TED Talk.
you've seen that one. Okay, good. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so here's how I've taken that and morphed it into my own. And you talk about like leadership and you're thinking about how you're going to work with your team and you don't want to be the helicopter mom as a team lead. And so the uncomfortness is, okay, I'm going to try something today. I'm going to try something that is not what I normally would do, but I'm hoping that this would work. And this is where it goes back to, it's rooted in, I'm trying to do the best thing for the project, the best thing for the team, the best thing for that person. So even if I'm wrong, I'm okay because I know my intentions were good. Like what was in my heart was good. And so I know this is going to be a little weird for me, CJ, but I got to try to do this. I got to see if it's going to work. Right. And that's going to be the rest of your life. The rest of your life, you're going to need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, doing new things and finding out what doesn't work so you can get that out the way. And then when you find what works, you know that that's there. But never get stagnant, never stay in one spot. Always keep trying something new. As long as it's rooted in what's positive and what's in your heart, you'll be okay. And that's my version of being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Okay. Thank you. I listened to this podcast and they mentioned being comfortable with disagreeing. Would you say that's a good trait to learn?
Absolutely. It was something I sucked at. And remember I told you earlier, I was kind of like this Mr. Know-it-all, and I used to always have to show people right. And so even today at this age, I still catch myself like, you know, especially with me and my wife, right? Because my wife is very, very smart. She's a librarian. She knows all these words that I don't know. And so like, you know, we kind of go at it a lot. You know, we compete a lot in this mental space. And so I even find myself in this place where it's like, you know, we both can be right, but it's like I'm a little more right because of this, right? And trying to find that right. And so like I catch myself like, okay, you got to stop that. See, like let that go, right? And so I'm saying all that to say that oftentimes it is actually very important for you to allow people to speak their mind, speak their piece, and even if you know that you're more right, as long as you guys are getting to the same location, it's fine. If you feel that you got to make 3 rights, and I said we should just make a left, but you're adamant about making those 3 rights, we're going to get to the same place. At this time, that's fine. Let's make your 3 rights and let's go. Right? There's a time and a place for me to force you to make a left. And if it's not the right time for me to force it, then I can collaborate with you. I can compromise. I can smooth things over and we can make those 3 rights. Right? You know, that's kind of, or it might be vice versa. They're trying to make a left. And you're like, no, if we make a left, that place can be congested. We should make a right here, right here, right here. And then we'll, you know, eventually end up at the same spot. You know, so just know that there's a time to, and this is probably in conflict resolution as you get into this, like there's forcing, there's smoothing, there's compromising, there's withdrawing, and then there's collaboration. Those are the 5 like different conflict resolution techniques out there. You just need to know when it's appropriate. There's not one. There's a time to force things. There's a time to smooth things over. There's a time to just withdraw, right? There's time to compromise. There's a time to collaborate. And when you understand that and you get good at it, that is the more detailed answer of saying that, yes, it's okay to agree to disagree, but in one of those 5 methods, in one of those 5 fashions.
Okay, thank you.
We got time for one more. And then I'm gonna meet with your other classmate at 9.
That was actually my last question. I've actually been coming up with some questions off the rim because of our conversation. So thank you for this great conversation and teaching me a lot.
If you need any more, just set another time with me. If you ever have questions, shoot me an email. I will answer.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care now.
Have a great one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.